to do it, I can't be afraid now. Put me on the stage now, I'm ready to rage now. I feel like an animal stuck in a cage and I'm ready to break out. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. This time, like the last time, you better get ready to race to the top. I'm ready to do this, show you what the truth is. I step on the field, it's time to get real, I'm feeling so ruthless. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Yeah, so what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. Get in the game, your moment of fame, show them what you made of. It's time that we stand up, it's time that we man up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up. My time, nothing can keep me from reaching the top. This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride. I'm ready to throw down, it's time for the showdown. I'm ready to rise, don't be surprised, I'll take on the world now. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. My town, my crown, we know what it takes to be reaching the top. We're reaching the top, we're reaching the top. We know what it takes to be reaching the top. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop. Turning the track up, I'll never go back down. Hand over my heart, I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud. My time, none of you people can tell me to stop.
Live tonight from the virtual Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the final night of the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown. We're happy that you're strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us here on RaceSpot TV and wherever else you're joining us here from the virtual Chandler, Arizona, where once more, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, happen to be joined by Jim Beaver and Tiffany Stone in the broadcast booth as well. Our producer downstairs is Paul Smith, and Jim, we kind of bring this back full circle once more to where it all began just about a month ago in the opening round of this three-race series. Last time we were here, a lot of familiar faces, but not some of the drivers as well, competing here tonight when we took both the Pro 2s and the Pro 4s around tonight, though. It is the big trucks.
Yeah, it is definitely the big trucks tonight. Pro 4, 900 horsepower here where it all started, as you said, 1 month ago. Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. This one's a little partial to me. I'm from Arizona. This is an Arizona track. I thought, you know what, let's end this thing in a track that I know well personally. And I've called races here, in as well. But this one, it's a little bit different on the iRacing service. A lot of the drivers, they prefer the track in Reno there, which is Wild West Motorsports Park. And the whole idea with this is prove who the best of the best is. So let's take them to the track that maybe not quite as preferred as the other tracks on the calendar.
Yeah, we talked about this last week, the fact that, the drivers said that maybe they actually liked these trucks better than the Pro 2, so you stuck them in those when we were racing at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. I want to welcome in the third member of our broadcast team, Tiffany Stone, and, that was obviously a thriller out there, Tiff, because that's not what we expect out of these trucks. I think they're a little bit back more in their elements, still going to be a challenge as we get around this this 8-turn racetrack, but obviously taking these Pro 2s last week out to Laguna Seca was totally way out of the box, and we had a blast for those who weren't with us.
No, exactly. It was great to be able to see the Pro 2s at Laguna Seca go through the corkscrew. That was something that we've never seen before, and that was awesome. And a big congratulations once again to Brandon Proudfoot, who took the Triple Crown that weekend. And it was just awesome to see him race in that Pro 2. So coming back in a Pro 4, it could be anybody's game, and I can't wait to see what the night entails.
And let's talk about this track. Like we said, we are no strangers to it. We raced on it at the beginning of all of this. At that time, the driver that we were talking about was Cam Peterson, who was oh so very dominant in week 1 of this Triple Crown. But it's one of the most diverse racing venues in North America. Wild Horse Pass hosts everything from dragsters to motorboats. It has been a staple on the short course off-road racing with 2 annual stops on the Lucas Oil Racing Series calendar. This stadium-style course was built back in 2008. The 5-turn layout features a mix of sweeping corners, high-flying jumps, and full-throttle straightaways as well. We talked about seeing Pro 2s and 4s here in action as we get set for our first division, the crossover drivers to get underway, Jim. This is actually one of the only tracks in which you see the 2s and 4s on track together. Tonight, though, strictly in the Pro 4s, and we'll be seeing the same format for those who joined us last week out. We have a host of crossover professional drivers, the pro off-road racers, and the sim racers ready to go tonight. It'll be the crossover drivers up first.
Yeah, the crossover drivers, this is really fun because there's a lot of these guys, that have always wanted to race off-road trucks and maybe not have the opportunity. iRacing and here in, the eShortCourse Triple Crown, we've allowed them to have the opportunity to come and show their skills behind the wheel of an off-road truck. And we've got guys like Greg Biffle, who actually has driven an off-road truck, done a little bit of off-road racing. He's been here for the entire duration of the Triple Crown. Guys like Ron Capps, who, he can drive just about anything. He loves iRacing. But, one of the newcomers I want to key in on here, he's racing out of the UK. That is David Higgins. He is a rally legend, a Hall of Famer. And having him here racing for the first time in an off-road truck, I know we've got a lot of fans tuning in, a lot of Subaru fans to see how, David Higgins does. I'm really excited to see what DH brings to the table.
And let's take a look at your starting grid for this crossover event. And it is going to start with the 121 of Anthony Eigenhauer on the top spot, a 36-111, the best for him. He'll be joined on the outside by the number 3 of Travis Picoy. Then it'll be the NHRA champion, the number 28 Napa Auto Parts entry of Ron Capps. He'll double up with the driver of the Gravedigger Monster Jam truck. That's the 23 of Tyler Meninga in 4th. Connor Martell going to be the next row back. He will start the number 5 spot alongside NASCAR legend Greg Biffle, still racing from his boat this weekend, starting in P6. Joshua Abbey will start 7th, and David Higgins, guys, just rolled it over on the pace lap. He's good to go, but he's going to be P8 at the back of this one. So we're set to go racing 18 laps at a Comp Yellow at lap number 7. Green flag for the crossovers. We're off and away, and Travis Picoy already a little bit rough that first time over the hill as they race down the back.
Yeah, look at him come in there side by side. Ron Capps get a little nose heavy there. We get some bumping and banging. Remember, these Pro 4s, they can pack it into these corners. These trucks have all kinds of traction. They can drive them a little in deep, and we didn't see that at Laguna Seca. That was a more finesse. Here, these guys are going to be hyper aggressive in the corners.
And you can see somebody way up and over and out of the track. That's Tyler Meninga, who's going to come to a rest at all 4 tires. But that was a huge roll for him. These things as well, you talk about them being able to get off and into the corners. They also feel really unstable, especially over the whoop section. Of course, you can kind of hike it up on the berm on the inside. It doesn't take traffic to find yourself in trouble. And you can see up front with 1-2-1 pulls away just a little bit on board with Connor Martell. This trio for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th the best, and they give a shot to Ron Capps. They're going to go at it, the battle for 3rd.
You know, you got to give and the Cap's getting a little out of shape there, but you got to give Ron Capps a lot of credit. You know, this a little something out of his, his wheelhouse, but he's put in the work the past month, you know, to try and get up to speed not only in this and rallycross cars. And I got to tell you, Ron Capps is very impressive. As we see a look at there, the number 75, David Higgins, looks like he blew an engine.
We had issues right off at the top, not how he wanted his one to start, but that's going to take him contention for a good finish in this one, although because the crossover field's smaller than the likes of the pro off-road racers, that especially the sim racer category, all these drivers will be good to the feature. Again, these three different divided heat races amongst the different categories of drivers basically serving as heats, as we will put them all together at the end of the afternoon for one big main event. But I mean, enjoying the clean racetrack up in front, the number 121, that's the Monster Energy sponsored entry for Anthony Eigenhauer, the driver out of Georgia, and he's got a pretty consistent pace right now, about 1.6 seconds ahead of Travis Picoy. And this goes back into what we saw last week at Laguna Seca. Obviously a very different complexion of a race compared to that one, but we will still have that comp yellow. So I think just getting maybe a couple of spots here or there, like what Connor Bartel has done, started in 5th, moved his way to 3rd. I think he's somebody who could obviously stand to benefit from that comp yellow at halfway. Ronnie Capps, of course, not that far behind. He got moved out of the way initially in that battle. We'll see if the NHRA champ maybe repays that if he can get back to him.
Yeah, you know, and like you said, we've got that comp yellow there, but Ron Capps, you know, he's very much, cool, calm, collected. As you saw at Laguna Seca, you know, he put together a great run there for a podium finish in the celebrity crossover division. And I think he's one that likes to kind of lay it back and lets the race come to him in the second half. We'll see him really push.
We can see high speed and flying off into turn number 1. As mentioned, this racetrack, 0.60 miles in length, 5 quarters, and it is basically straightaway hairpin. A little bit different, of course, Jim. Last time we took these trucks out, as you mentioned, to the track that maybe a lot of these drivers prefer. That one out in Reno, or just up in Sparks, Nevada, actually just outside of it, but Wild Horse Pass, the one tonight. What are kind of the major differences driving these Pro 4 trucks here as opposed to there?
Well, you know, I think, up there in Reno at Wild West Motorsports Park, it's really big, exuberant jumps. It's a lot of rhythm. You've got to get your timing right. You got to land just right. Here, it's a little flatter. We do have some big jumps, but this one a little bit tighter corners, things like that. So the drivers really got to hit your marks. Here, it's really easy to lose a lot of momentum really, really quick. So you're going to see the guys that can really hit their marks and keep it all together through the race are going to finish well here.
And one truck up and on its lid, that's Greg Biffle there, who flipped over. He has had to take a tow to the pit lane. So as race control, Matt Kalish throws the competition caution at halfway. Let's see what happened to the 16 machine. I cautioned the possibility of rolling it over in the whoops, and there it was. One time over, 1.5. And he could not bring it back down. A rough start, though. We saw Biffle right there, David Higgins as well. You talked about blowing the engine. We saw Tyler Menninga go flipping basically off of the racing surface earlier. So 3 of your 8 pro crossover drivers out of this one early. Looks like one of them going to try to get back into this as Greg Biffle is resuming. No quick repairs available, so these drivers are going to have to work with the damage on these trucks for the duration of these races. But the field is now grouped up behind the iRacing.com official pace truck. We'll reset and get set to go back at it. Light's going to stay on this time through, so I think the restart will likely put us with about 8 laps to go when we get there.
You know, and I think one thing these drivers are really going to have to adjust to, especially the ones that raced last weekend at Laguna Seca, you know, those were really long laps. You know, it's almost 2-mile laps. 10 laps there takes a long time to do. Here we are, we're already halfway through this race, you know, and this is go time. There at Laguna Seca, you were able to let the race actually be you. I think here at, at Wild Horse Pass, it's all about, coming on right now and making it happen.
We talked about some of the drivers that had some issues. Tiffany, let's see if we can get on the radio with the driver of the number 75 machine, David Higgins.
David Higgins, how are you doing out there?
Well, we'll see if we can get David on. Of course, he is still actively, trying to get back into this race after we lost the engine in that one. And we'll be doing our best to chat with some of the drivers in this race all night long. But it appears that we do not have the 75 machine on the radio just at this very moment, although the lights have gone out on top of the iRacing.com official pace truck. So it'll be a restart due up next. Eigenhauer, Picoy, Martel, Caps, and Aby, the only drivers, Jim, on the lead lap in this thing. Does anybody have something for the 121?
Well, the 121, we haven't even talked about him yet, Anthony Eigenhauer. He kind of got up front early, and he's let all the chaos happen behind him, which is what you want to do. He's running a really clean race, and as you said, guys are dropping like flies out here. We'll see. Picoy, he showed a lot of skill at Laguna Seca. I think, he had literally 20 minutes behind the wheel of a Pro 2 truck before that race. He's a rallycrosser by trade. His dad's a trophy truck racer, so I think, he's going to be able to pick the pace here in Pro 4 pretty quick. And I think we're going to see something out of Picoy in the second half of this race.
And the green flag flies. We're back underway, and it's Eigenhauer leading off and into the first quarter. Here comes a challenge for second, though. Martel trying to slide up on the inside. That number 3 machine of Travis Picoy, who's now going to go all the way for the race lead. There it is, door banging for the number 1 spot on the inside of Eigenhauer. Picoy is going to bring it to him.
And look at that, Picoy looking all the way to the bottom. Eigenhauer protecting, slamming the door. Picoy losing a little momentum there. Now he's got to watch out for the number 21, Connor Martel, coming up behind him. And Picoy and Martel, I believe in the past, they've done battle and rallycross, so these guys no stranger to each other.
And this now groups everybody up for second on the back. The 3 machine had a couple of looks. Look at Ron Caps at the very inside, but it'll slide wide as Martel's clear of him. So that big effort by Caps doesn't pay off. He drops back just a little bit, and I guess it depends on how aggressive you want to drive it off and into the corners to dictate how much of a margin is too much to overcome. Picoy now going to be challenged. There's a huge Chanto, and Picoy up and over as he absolutely got moved. That was Connor Martel who gave him the door.
Yeah, pirouette there. He lands back at number 3 on the wheels. We're going to get another look at it. Looks like off the big jump there. Looks like Martel just door to door there. Sends him up into a beautiful pirouette. Luckily lands on his wheels. He's going to get back into this race, dropping a few positions. Tough break for him. As you had mentioned earlier, though, all these drivers going to transfer into the main event. So right now they're just competing for starting spots. As look at Ron Caps there, the Napa truck. I'll move it into the 3rd spot. He's been sitting back playing possum. I think we're going to see something out of Caps the second half of this race.
He's been real aggressive since this one got back underway. This next time by, going to be 5 laps to go from Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. So you take the 3 of Picoy out of the equation, the 121 of Eigenhauer way out in front and clear of everybody else, 1.5 ahead of the fight you're watching right now for second. Connor Martel's got it. Ron Caps wants it, and he's getting ever so closer. Can he find an opening, though, to get the job done?
Yeah, and it looks like, wow, look at that. You got to give Martel a lot of credit. He's running that low line, not opening the door one bit for Ron Caps. You saw Ron take that wide. It looks like he's going to go outside, inside, and Martel smart, not allowing that to happen. As look at that momentum. Martel pulls out of that corner, stretching his legs over Ron Caps.
And that's the onboard looking off for the back of the 21 of Martel. And again, Caps is so close. I think he just needs the 21 to make a bit of a mistake. He drives it into the corner, which I think is making this battle look a little bit closer than it is. Martel so much better actually getting the power back down. I think that's what Ron Caps still needs to learn in these Pro 4 trucks, but is really impressing for all the different vehicles that he's been in on the iRacing service. And going head-to-head against a guy like Connor Martel, it certainly goes to show you that you know what you're doing. That time by 3 laps to go. Big slide into 1, and the 21 truck now opens up his advantage.
Yeah, I'm looking at a little data being provided to us now, too. And it looks like Ron Caps actually, he's put together some laps that are a little bit quicker than Connor Martel, so he's got the pace to make this pass. Martel just running the smart lines, not making any mistakes. Wow, and look at Caps, goes for a ride there.
Well, second or third time we've seen it, and that's kind of that berm up at the inside of the racetrack. Let's go on board with Ron Caps. Let's listen to this as it happens. over once, almost over twice, and you can see the car behind. That was Joshua Abbey, had to work his way through. He's actually going to be dealing with Travis Picoy here maybe in just a little bit, but Caps drops out of the race just like that. Got a little bit too aggressive on those entries.
Yeah, that was a tough break for Ron Capps. You know, he played a really smart race. And, you know, this track deteriorates just like it does in real life, you know, and it looks like that corner maybe getting a little bit rutted. And Capps just hooking a rut wrong and sent him up and over. We'll see him back in the main event later on today. You know, it's definitely put together an impressive run. But right now, it's talking about impressive runs. We got to go to Anthony Eigenhauer. He has been up front since the start, and he is just pretty much checked out on this field.
And the point that you mentioned right when this got back underway, the fact that he has stayed in front, that has allowed him to be clear of all of the chaos behind. I don't think anybody has dented any bit of the bodywork on that 121 Monster Energy entry, and he'll come across the finish line, and that is the end of the race. So he'll park it on the fence. Anthony Eigenhauer, that's about the only piece of contact he had tonight. He wins the crossover heat race. Connor Bartel to second, Abbey in third. But Travis Picoy, the last driver to actually finish this one on the elite lap, Jim, back into P4. So a lot of big names not getting to the distance.
Yeah, you know, and that was a tough break for Ron Capps. We saw Greg Biffle go out early. Tyler Miniga, he ran strong at Laguna Seca. He had some issues here too. And, you know, a lot of these drivers, you know, they knew they all were transferring to the main event. So maybe they were throwing a little caution to the wind at times, you know, just learning the track because, you know, we're going to have an all-out battle royale here, you know, come in about 30, 45 minutes when we've got, you know, not only the crossover drivers, but the pro off-road and the pro sim guys. So maybe they're just doing their homework.
Yeah, that was just a little bit of a sneak peek as you take a look at your full race results. The likes of Capps, Biffle, Higgins, Meniga, as you mentioned, unable to go to the distance, but it does not matter because all 8 of those drivers are going to be moving on to the feature race in just a little bit. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, and we'll come back to Wild Horse Pass in a moment. It is the Pro Off-Road Racers next. You're watching Week 3 at the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown on RaceSpot TV.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected, where grilling the perfect meal in your own backyard is a satisfying reward at the end of the day. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it with the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Easy to light, simple to use, lifetime warranty. The ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at BigGreenEgg.com.
Take your driving to the next level at Dirtfish. Gain confidence behind the wheel of an all-wheel drive Subaru STI or rear-wheel drive BRZ. Get sideways with skills on gravel, mud, and tarmac. Dirtfish offers programs for every driver. Visit dirtfish.com for details.
Born for competition. Perfected on the racetrack. For whatever your road looks like, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
There's nothing wrong with looking good. But when riding is your passion, it's performance that matters. Like having the off-road's most advanced suspension. It monitors input from driver and machine 200 times every second and automatically adjusts each shock to flatten corners, soak up the bumps, and cushion every landing. Confidence and control for those who live to ride. Polaris. Think outside.
And back live for the virtual Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, where RaceSpot TV's coverage of the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown continues with round number 3 and the big finale. It's Pro 4 trucks from Chandler, Arizona, and happy that you're with us. Evan Pasoka, Jim Beaver, and Tiffany Stone. And Jim, we just saw the professional crossover drivers, the smallest category in the field, so I think that was a nice little bit of a teaser of what is still to come today.
Yeah, it's a nice little teaser. You know, these drivers, a lot of them, no strangers to sim racing and iRacing, but a lot of them race other things and other walks of life. Stoked to have them kind of come over and try their hand at off-road. But now we move into, the drivers who, professional off-road racers. This is what they do, and I think, this is going to be one of our most stacked categories here with some people that are highly decorated in the industry.
Yeah, these are going to be a lot of those names and faces that everybody tuned in at home recognizes. And before we get down as they're in their qualifying session, let's get to our podium from that pro crossover heat race. And it'll start, Tiffany Stone, with your winner in that one, the 121 of Anthony Eigenauer.
A big congratulations to you, Anthony. You pretty much had a clean race from the start to the finish, stayed out of all the chaos. Walk us through what you saw staying in the front. Well, it looks like that I can't get a hold of Anthony right now. So we are going to move to our second place finisher. Our second place finisher, Connor Martell. Connor, second, you worked your way all the way up. Obviously, there were some times that you capitalized on people's mistakes. Walk us through that race, how you saw it.
Yeah, I think it was an overall pretty clean race. This is my first race in off-road trucks, and it was a lot of fun. So I'm excited to get into the next race and see what happens.
Well, you pretty much pushed Picoy out of the way on lap 13, capitalized on his mistake, trying to keep the running of the low line against Caps as well. How do you think that the rest of the evening is going to go for everybody else?
I think it's going to go pretty well. Yeah, I stuck it in there on Travis. It was unfortunate that he rolled. I kind of saw him rolling in my rear view. But yeah, basically you really just have to stick it in there when there's an opportunity and hope for the best. And, that's my favorite kind of racing, and that's what I'm going to do.
Awesome. Well, great job in that one. Best of luck in the final lap.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now heading over to our third place finisher from the first race night, Josh. Josh, walk us through what you did. Best lap of 36.697. Obviously, you had two great drivers, but you were able to get that last spot.
Yeah, just try to remain smooth. A lot of mistakes by some guys kind of helped me get up front, which, definitely will take. But the Scorecrow, Dirt Track Junkies, Questex truck was pretty quick once I catch a groove. But like I said, just trying to stay smooth and out of the way of everybody else.
Going through that, obviously you had some great drivers out there. Was there any particular driver or a particular turn that you thought might have given you a little trouble tonight?
Definitely getting out of the bumps, going towards the finish line. Watching Ron Capps kind of following his line, then I had Biffle behind me. Honestly, it was kind of cool just watching what they were doing and staying smooth with them as well. But like I said, getting those bumps through to get some momentum going to that final tabletop is definitely something to keep working on.
Awesome. Well, you had a nice clean run out there. Best of luck in the final race tonight.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Awesome. And I think I'm able to get our top place finisher, Anthony, back in here. Anthony, like I was saying earlier, you ran a clean race from the beginning, stayed out of front and stayed out of the chaos. Walk us through what it was like being out front and being ahead of everything that was happening behind you.
Well, I knew the field behind me was tough, and I definitely did not expect to qualify P1. So once I qualified P1, I just went with it and hit my marks and tried to stay out front, avoid all the chaos behind me.
Well, it seems like you've pretty much done that. Like I was talking to the other drivers, is there any particular driver or turn in this particular track that you thought might have given you a little bit more trouble, but you were able to obviously seamlessly drive perfectly?
Track started getting real slick towards the end, so turn 3 before the whoops started getting real slick over there. I was definitely watching out for Connor Martell because I know he's been so fast with IRX and the Pro 2s, so definitely was looking out for him and looking forward to a great race.
Well, you've done it here, finishing off the night with the best of lap of 36 seconds. Seems like you got everything going pretty well for you. Big congratulations. Best of luck in the final race tonight.
Thank you.
Awesome. Back up to you guys.
Well, big thanks to our podium finishers from that pro crossover category for chatting with us. That would be Anthony Eigenhauer, Connor Martell, and Joshua Abbey. And now we transition to the pro crossover drivers. And Jim, you mentioned, of course, some of the big faces and names in this one. Just kind of looking at the qualifying order right now, it's a 10-minute open queue, so they can get as many attempts at it as they want. Connor Berry currently at the top, but what are some of the names that you're going to be watching for in this one?
Well, I think, right now, Connor Berry at the top, Luke Canup, another one right there at the top. But, one guy that impressed me going to Laguna Seca, and I see him sitting there in fifth, he's a factory racer driver, Corbin Leverton. He really impressed me a lot with what he put together at Laguna Seca. We saw him push towards the front. I think he got tangled up in a crash. But I would say he's a little new to iRacing. But so far, what I've seen out of Corbin Leverton, I got to say he's probably my dark horse in this one.
Well, this is, of course, we talked about the parallels between real-world racing and the sim racing, and you were going to see the best of the best in that sim racing category up next. But, I'm already just looking at the lap times in this, Jim. You talked about the dominance that the 1-2 of Eigenhauer had. His Q lap was a 36.111, and that was about 0.3 of a second better than the next closest driver. If he put down that lap in this group, he would be 14th out of the 17 different drivers. So that goes to show you that speed in the short course in real life translating here over into iRacing.
Yeah, and a lot of these drivers, Connor Berry, Luke Canup, Mia Chapman, Corey Weller, you can go down the list here, and a lot of them have raced these tracks in real life. So I think it transitions over very, very well. And kind of the way we stack the deck for the main event is as you saw, you've got the crossover drivers a little bit slower. You've got the off-road drivers, the pro off-road drivers that are in the middle. And then you've got the pro sim drivers that'll actually be even lower lap times than what we're seeing here from the off-road. And so they're going to have to start in the back. Off-road's going to start in the center. And we're going to start the pro sim, the pro crossover drivers up front. So, the fastest guys, they're going to be penalized a little bit and have to come through traffic. And that's what makes our main events so interesting, as we saw, a week ago at Laguna Seca.
And the 10-minute open qualifying session just now rounding to a close. They got about 40 seconds left or so to complete the lap that they're on for it to count towards, of course, that Q effort. And Tiffany, I'll go back to you one more time, actually, before we get this one underway. Just wanted to get your thoughts on what we saw in that first race. Of course, 7 trucks going to be a very different run than what we see coming up here with 17 set to go.
You're exactly right. With the drivers knowing that everybody was going to advance, not sure if some of them held back, especially knowing that all of them are going to go. But with this 17 truck field, it could be anybody's game. We could see 3 wide. We could see 4 wide. I'm really looking forward to seeing what some of the people will do, especially Corey Weller, Mia Chapman coming out here, because like Jim was saying, some of these drivers have raced personally in vehicles at this track.
And we'll see if that real-life experience is going to help them out as well. As we are set to look at the grid, let's take a look at your RaceSpot TV starting grid. These are your professional off-road drivers. Connor Berry, the fastest lap we have seen tonight, and then some. A 35.566, the best of them all, and it will bring us to the green flag alongside the 17 truck. A late entry up there in queue of Trenton Briley. That late lap was able to knock Luke Nupp down to the number 3 spot, along with the 51 of William Booth in the number 4 position. It's Holden Heitrader in 5th, Ethan Ebert in the number 6 spot, with Corbin Leverton and Zachary Drapkin in 7th and 8th spot. You also have Darren Hardestry in 9th, and Sean Heck rounding out our top 10, Jim.
Then we've got RJ Merritt, 7200 driver in the 11th spot. We got Elliott Watson. He is both a UTV racer. He's run a lot of super buggy and Lucas Oil short course. No stranger to this track. Brock Dickerson in the 13th spot. Corey Weller, this is her home track. If anybody knows this track, it is Corey Weller. She's burned more laps here than just about anybody. We got Brian Osborne in the 15th spot. Mikey Lawrence, trophy truck driver. He is in the 16th spot. And then Mia Chapman in the 17th spot.
We saw a lot of contact in that first race, and now there's about twice as many trucks on the virtual track, so let's see how this one shakes out. Green flag in the air. We're off and away. Lap 1 of 18, and it is Connor Berry the lead, challenged by Briley.
Yeah, Trenton Briley looked like he made a run there on Connor Berry. Berry shutting the door and losing a lot of momentum was a 17. He just takes a way outside line. We got some bumping and banging behind him. And we're going to see if he'll be able to slingshot out of that corner. It's the 77. That is Luke. Looks like he got off to a little rough start. Now he's going to have to battle his way through traffic.
And he got way out of shape, actually. Was way on the inside of the corner. Had to avoid a K-rail to get back on track. Started this one in 3rd. He falls down to P7. There's a big group of trucks, though, just in front of him. A challenge amongst the likes of the 25 machine of Corbin Leverton in the middle of all of this. You're on board now, up the road with the 512 truck in a battle with the 51 on the inside, the 25, the 56. I mean, you got about 3 wide here of trucks right now. A lot of contact, and so far so good. These trucks, though, on the ragged edge.
Yeah, these trucks very durable, but you are right. They're on the ragged edge, and we're running a fixed setup here, and I think a lot of these drivers in some of the leagues and racing, they've got open setups where they're able to fine-tune their vehicles. Here, the setup they're running, everybody's the same, and it's the fixed setup direct from iRacing. So it might not be the exact best setup for this track, and I think the drivers have to do a lot of adjusting here.
One truck flipping and barrel rolling on the outside. That is Heitrider, who's able to get back on track. As long as you get back on all 4s, we've seen trucks who have had big incidents like that actually be able to cycle back into the race. As we'll take a second look at this one, the driver to California, boom, right there. And Jim, very similar to a piece of contact we saw in that earlier race with the likes of Martel and others. That kind of side slap can take you out of it.
Yeah, these corners get rutted, and you get a side slap there, and you hit them just right, and it just kind of tips the trucks, and they snap roll, as we've seen, and it's just it's a part of short course. It happens in the real world. It happens in the virtual world. As we one spun around there in the corner, looks like that is the 56 there. That is Zachary Drapkin.
He's currently enthralled in a fight with 57 of Ethan Ebert. Just about landed on him that time as they came to take lap number 5, and he will get ushered out of the way. Also going to watch, of course, that dirt leading up to the, the sidewall there with the catch fence. 2 tires for Drapkin. A little bit over aggressive on the bottom. Hands that spot back to Ebert. All of this for 5th position on back. Some of the best stuff is now you see the 99 of Darren Hardesty coming up and into the battle. He wants to get at it. Those whoops, though, tossing these guys around like rag dolls.
Yep. Those whoops definitely throwing them for a ride. I mean, I'm watching this. This is some rough racing here. Gloves are off. They are battling it out. Looks like they're Elliott Watson almost up against the fence. But this is you know, these drivers too, we were talking about this before we went to broadcast. There's a little line there up against the fence where you could catch that, and it's a little bit quicker of that tabletop. You see guys, looks like they're almost hitting the fence there. There is a little bit of a quick line. They found a spot there that shaves off just a hair of a second, but it's enough that you might actually be able to make a move for a position.
And the fun thing that we've mentioned through all of this is that in sim racing, anybody can drive any car, or in this case truck, at any track on the surface. As there's a second look at how that 3 machine of Watson ended up and on its lid. Is able to get it back going, but has fallen back down to position 11. And Jim, a little bit earlier tonight before we got underway, as we close in on our competition to caution, your race leader is going to be coming to the end of lap number 7. That's when the yellow flag will be thrown by the tower. Watching this battle with Harstry and Japkin, and there it is. The yellow flag flies at lap 7. But, I mean, even I jumped into these Pro 4s and did a couple of laps. I don't think I did any better than a 37.1. So that goes to show you how off the pace I am. But I think that's my favorite thing to sim racing is, you know, you've got those professional sim racers who, yes, are very good at this. I mean, this is kind of their craft, but it's still going to be super cool experience for them to be racing against these pros when we get to the main event.
Yeah, and I think that's really special that we've tried to build here with this Triple Crown is, you know, you've got the best in sim racing, the best in off-road, the best in you know, in all other forms of motorsport. And I think they all kind of a little starstruck between the 3 of them. You know, it's people that they all respect, and now we've put them in, you know, head-to-head in this big blender of a series, and it's been kind of fun to watch.
So we pace, you can see the running order at the bottom of your screen, and we kind of predicted some chaos in this one, but no changes. 1, 2, 3, and 4. It is Barry, Briley, Knupp, and Booth in the exact order in which they started this race. Your biggest mover would be back in traffic, Mikey Lawrence, who started 16th and is P10. He would, of course, just be off of the top 8 stats that you were looking at there, but interestingly enough, I don't think we've had less flips, Jim, but we've had less major accidents because only the 512 out of this race, the other 15 trucks still in it.
Yeah, you know, and I think a lot of these guys, the pro off-road racers, they actually spend a lot of time racing these tracks in leagues and, you know, during the week and in practice and things like that for their real off-road careers. So you've got the crossover drivers who maybe not quite as familiar with the short course, but these drivers, I mean, they're no strangers to these tracks. They put in the work, they put in the homework, and, you know, it doesn't surprise me a bit that, you know, we've seen crashes, but nothing that's major that's taken them out so far because, you know, they're pretty familiar with not only the equipment, but this track here.
We'll see if this race is going to get back away this time by as the field is stacked up, but the lights on top of the iRacing pace truck are out. So just as it was last time, we're going to put 10 laps behind us and see a restart with 8 laps to go from Wild Horse Pass. These are the pro off-road drivers. Of course, the who's who of short course and off-road racing. Barry, Briley, Knupp, Booth, and Ebert, your top 5. The pro sim racers will be next. All of these serving as qualifier heats to a feature in which we will take all 3 categories of drivers and put them together for one big 18-lap finale. The pace truck, though, going to get way out of the way, and let's hand things off to the 528 machine of Connor Berry in control of the field at a turn number 5. Green flag in the air. Let's do it. 8 more laps to go.
Look at that. Connor Berry just shot out of a cannon. You know, he checked out the first half of this race. He's trying to do the same thing this go around. He knows what's happening behind him. He doesn't want to get caught up in that mix. And I got to tell you, Connor Berry, his lap time's been really good. He gets out front, and it's going to be tough to catch him.
The onboard look there with Knupp in a number 3 spot, trying to get on the inside of Trenton Briley. Can't do it. It is chaos behind. 2x2 like a NASCAR restart for Ebert on back. You've got Hardesty, Drapkin, Leverton all in this group. That white and pink entry on the inside is Hardesty, who's going to lean in the 51 to move him out of the way. That's one way to make the pass.
Yeah, and all of them taking that line up there against the fence and, you know, gives them a really good shot here into this corner. So we see him 2 wide through there. like Lieberton there was on the inside, trying to make a move, pulling the outside inside there. It looks like not going to be enough. Oh, it is. He is going to get the position there in the Polaris Razor, number 25. Corbin Lieberton making a pass there all the way to the bottom now, trying to get 2 more.
On his way through, trying to get up and into that battle in front, in which you see, there it is, the likes of Drop-Kitted Hardesty going at it, a little bit of a door bang that time, and the 99 going to get used up. A little bit of payback there in that exchange for the position. And now here comes Lieberton, who is real good off of this restart, 3 wide as they come up and over the hill behind. The fight for second is on, though, as that is the 17, Michita Briley. He will lose out that spot. As it looks like Luke up trying to take it away from him right now. But the 77 caught up with 57 of Ebert. This battle for third.
Yeah, it looked like Knupp there, a couple corners back, kind of got out of shape, and it opened the door there for the number 57 to sneak his way in. And, you know, you got to give Ebert a lot of credit capitalizing on the mistake from Knupp. Knupp, a veteran here of iRacing in short, you know, doesn't make mistakes very often, but definitely did there. So that gives Briley a chance there in the second spot to try and run down Connor Berry, who we haven't talked about much, and that's because he's been out front. He hadn't looked back from the start of this race.
The advantage, as well as we talk about these being the pro off-road drivers, is that it's not to say that all of them are non-iRacers. You know, especially somebody like the 51 Booth, I mean, a very experienced iRacer. When you talk about their official iRacing license level and how that plays in things, a kind of a good indication of how much time they spend on the sim. And your top 3, all drivers, know a thing or two about the iRacing service. So no surprise that they are the ones that are kind of rising to the top. Ethan Ebert, I think the biggest surprise is the driver who has not had as much in-sim time. Is doing a real good job from the number 4 spot. He's ahead of that 99 Hardesty that you see, who may be finally, for the first time, breaking away a little bit with the 56 machine of Zachary Drapkin in P6. I still think this battle for second, though, going to be the one to watch as we're inside 3 laps to go. The 77 of Knupp still trying to get it away from Briley. Gets the inside spot there with the 17 truck fighting back.
Yeah, and remember the magic number here is 8. 8 automatically go to the main event. So if you're not in the top 8, you may be going home early today. So 8, the magic number, a lot of these drivers know that. So, you know, they're battling up front for position in the main event, but we're going to start seeing as these laps continue to tick off there, that 7th, 8th, 9th spot, we're going to start seeing guys throw caution to the wind because they want to qualify into that main event.
And right now that transfer would have the 51 machine in and the 3 out. There's a little bit of a gap there as there is the 51 truck just behind Lieberton, Drop-Kitted others. And the first driver on the outside looking in now is Corey Weller, who just made a pass on Thomas Watson for 9th and 10th, but they are stuck about a 2.5 seconds off of the 51 truck. Not sure this time by as we see the white flag that 1 lap's could be enough to make up that distance.
Yeah, Corey Weller, you got to give her a lot of credit. You know, we haven't talked about her. She's going to sit back there, and now she's started making a late here with 1 lap to go. I don't know if she's going to have enough time. She's going to have a little luck on her side to be able to run down those 2 trucks in front of her and qualify in. But, you know, she's come into her own in sim racing. She's only been at it, I believe, for about a month now, and getting to be pretty impressive with season number 3 there, slicing and dicing with Corey Weller for that 9th spot.
Yeah, that battle going to continue on. The other drivers we haven't talked much about in this one as well. Fighting the likes of Lawrence, Osborne, Chapman, Merritt still on track in this one. But Connor Berry up front, checkered flag, and he takes home the win for the pro off-road category and does a little bit of a celebratory dump of the truck down and off into the corner. That is a uniquely sim racing celebration because there is no cost associated with dumping the truck when it's done. So your top 8 on through. Connor Berry pretty handily, though, dominating this one for the pole position. There's a look at your top 8 transfers.
Yeah, you know what? I got to say, Connor Berry, very, very impressive in this performance, leading this thing wire to wire. He's going to have a great starting spot for the main event later today. I got to say, you know, I think everybody's been put on notice. Connor Berry, he's here to play.
And he is going to have the best starting position out of this category of drivers as well when we get off and into that feature. So the crossovers and the pro off-road racers are done. It's time to let the sim racers take to the racetrack. We'll step aside for another moment, and they are up next for heat race number 3 from Wild Horse Pass. You're watching the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected, where grilling the perfect meal in your own backyard is a satisfying reward at the end of the day. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it with the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Easy to light, simple to use, lifetime warranty. The ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at biggreenegg.com.
Take your driving to the next level at Dirtfish. Gain confidence behind the wheel of an all-wheel drive Subaru STI or rear-wheel drive BRZ. Get sideways with skills on gravel, mud, and tarmac. Dirtfish offers programs for every driver. Visit dirtfish.com for details.
Born for competition. Perfected on the racetrack. For whatever your road looks like, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
There's nothing wrong with looking good. But when riding is your passion, it's performance that matters. Like having the off-road's most advanced suspension. It monitors input from driver and machine 200 times every second and automatically adjusts each shock to flatten corners, soak up the bumps, and cushion every landing. Confidence and control for those who live to ride. Polaris, think outside.
And back live from Chandler, Arizona, and from the virtual Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park as we get set for Heat Race 3, the Pro Sim Racers on track next as you're watching the final round of the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown on RaceSpot TV. It is Evan Pasoko, myself, with Jim Beaver, Tiffany Stone in the broadcast booth. And Jim, I think we're starting to learn now with 2 heat races down that track position and qualifying, which our sim racers are just now undertaking, is going to be critical because both Anthony Eigenhauer in the crossover session and Connor Berry just now in the pro off-roads went pole to checkered and seemingly uncontested up front while everybody else in the pack had to deal with some of the chaos.
Yeah, that chaos is only going to get deeper. Obviously, we got the Pro Sim guys. I think they're going to run each other, pretty clean here. But we get to that main event, and all bets are off. I mean, we're going to have 24, 25 trucks this track here at Wild Horse Pass. And, I think you're going to have to, as they say in motocross, stick your elbows out a little bit and muscle your way through if you're going to have a shot at the victory. But for those of the drivers that, start up front, they're going to have a distinct advantage over everybody else, which brings us to our Pro Sim racers who in that main event are going to have to battle through all the pro off-road racers as well as all the pro crossover drivers. We know they're the best in the business. They're going to have to prove it here today.
Yeah, it'll be the first time that we see that format implemented here with the Pro 4s. Of course, when we were here last time out for the first race of these three, it was a different format, and we got our first taste of that kind of invert of the speed last week at Laguna Seca. So while the sim racers are taking to qualifying, we'll go back downstairs with T. Stodable and some more Tiffany standing by with our podium finishers, beginning with race winner Connor Berry.
Connor Berry, big congratulations to you. You pretty much had everything cleared out for you. Talk us about your drive style with the first half comparative to the second half with the comp yellow.
Yeah, the first part was like good, and then like the second half, it just got like a bit like bad, and I moved my brakes to the front, and that just helped me out.
It seemed like you were pretty much shot out of a cannon right after the comp yellow. You didn't see anything behind you. When you're out so far, when you're driving, really what goes through your mind? Is it more about getting the correct lines or just keeping everybody off of you?
It's mainly lines. It's just being like smooth and fast and yeah.
Well, obviously for the main event tonight with 8 drivers moving from each session on, pretty much it's a battle for position. What was the game plan going into tonight's race, especially knowing now you're moving on to the main event later on?
Well, my goal was just to get the top 8 in that inside that race, and I did. I got first, and then I start inversion for that, I think it's 8, so I start 16th. So my goal is just to be smooth and just get a top 5.
Well, you've done it here. Nice job, Connor Berry. Best of luck for you in the main event.
Thank you.
Moving on to our second place finisher of the night, it's number 77 of Luke Knupp. Luke, you had a great battle for second place going out there. Obviously, you battled Ebert a little bit on lap 14. Walk us through that and how you took that second place spot.
Oh, yeah, it was an easy race, to be honest. I qualified third, just wasn't really in my groove, but started out and I was going for second in turn 2, and I clicked neutral, so I went all the way back to 8th. And I just worked my way up to the front, and by the mandatory caution, I was third. So I worked past Trenton, had some help from my teammate Ethan Ebert, so thank you to him, and everyone else, just Ultra Wheels, Lethal Esports, Diamondback Materials, Rigid Industries for helping me get me to this place. Thank you, guys.
Well, you've done it here. What is the game plan going into the main event?
Be smooth at the beginning, save my truck for the end, and hopefully be up front.
Well, you've done it here. One last question. How were the track conditions, obviously, from the first half to the second half of the race?
The track conditions changed a lot. The blue groove was a little bit at the beginning, but towards the end, you just had to like park it in the corners basically to drive off, or just run the cushion, which usually you don't do. So you had to change your driving style completely, which was a little out of our groove, but I made it work, and I think I learned some things for the main.
Well, you've done a great job here. Nice job, and best of luck going into the main event tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you. And finishing off with our third place finisher in this last race, number 57 of Ethan Ebert. Ethan, you've done a great job here. Pretty much pushed your way all the way to the third place finishing. Sometimes we were 3 wide, 4 wide. What did that look like from your view?
Oh, it was just really crazy all in all, because I was in a VR headset, so that means I can look around in the truck, and I would look to my left and there was a car to my left, and I looked to the right and there was a car to my right over the ski jump, and it was just crazy.
Talk us through what it's like to be in a Pro 4 here in Chandler, especially with the VR, like you said, looking left, looking right. What does that really look like, especially when you're looking for that quick line to move for position?
Well, it's kind of like real life, because in real life you would also scope out like, okay, the cushion's rising up every single lap, or there's blue groove going into the middle of turn 1. And so you just really have to look where you're going to go and like see if the person in front of you makes a mistake so that you can pass them and stuff like that. It's really kind of the same, and just trying to get used to it and stuff like that. It's really fun.
That's awesome. Going into the main event tonight, obviously there are going to be some of the best crossover pro drivers and sim drivers out there. Who do you think is going to give you a little bit of trouble?
Well, I think probably all of the sim drivers, because I think they're probably way faster than me. And like Luke Knupp, my teammate, he's gonna be a real big part of that because he's also really fast too. And so I'm just gonna keep my eye out for everyone that's like really fast and stuff like that.
Well, he did give you a big shout out and a thanks for helping him push into second. So nice job overall. Big congratulations. Good luck in the main event tonight.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Back up to you guys.
Well, there's your top 3 finishers from that pro off-road category, and a big thanks to first, second, and third in that one for chatting with us. Connor Berry, Luke Knupp, and Ethan Ebert. And we talked about the times, Jim, when we were watching qualified before, and they have continued to get a little bit lower, down in the 35s once more for the likes of David Bodio, Cameron Peterson, Josh Fox. Your top 3 right now. These guys have about a minute and 27 seconds or so left in their qualifying session before they're ready to go.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we expected. We expected, the sim guys to be a little bit, but I got to tell you, looking at some of the lap times, that say Connor Berry put together, he was down there in the 35s as well. So, I think it's interesting that now we've got real-world off-road stars, and their times are actually getting eerily close to the pro sim guys. I think that's kind of interesting, where you want to talk about blurry lines at this point. I think we're starting to see those blurry lines where at some point, I don't think we're going to have 3 distinct categories. I think we're just going to have one big category.
Yeah, in fact, at the moment, the provisional pole time for Bodio, if he could hang on to it for about another minute or so, almost a tenth of a second slower than the pole time for the pro crossover section. One thing we haven't talked about as well, the fact that, of course, these drivers not only coming out here for some bragging rights and for some fun, Jim, but there's about $2,500 in cash and prizes on the line today, including some stuff from our friends over at General Tire and Big Green Egg. Tell the folks at home what's on the line tonight.
Yeah, well, not only do we have, I believe it's about a $600 purse for these drivers, 300, 200, or 300, 200, 100, I believe it's paying out for first, second, and third. But overall winner going to get a brand new set of General Tires. That's about $1,000 in value. And then Big Green Egg has decided, a lot of these crossover and celebrity drivers, they're doing battle here, and they're going to have a tough time winning against these pro sim guys, things like that. Big Green Egg stepped up and said, you know what? We are going to put something up for, these pro crossover and celebrity drivers. We're going to give them the Big Green Egg Mini Max, whoever is the top finisher in the main event. So, there's a lot on the line for everybody here today. And I think, purse and prizes all encompassing, over the course of, this series puts us in the neighborhood possibly of $10,000 in cash and prizes. So this Triple Crown, definitely, I think we've got some amazing partners that have, come together and really embrace this. And I'm excited, I think out of the get-go, it's been pretty impressive, what we've been able to pull together in this, inaugural Triple Crown.
Yeah, over the course of those first 2 weeks as well, more than 300,000 people have tuned into these races. So if this is your third or your first, happy that you're with us on RaceSpot TV. Let's go trackside and take a look at your starting grid. It'll be the number 58 machine of Josh Edmondson. We just talked about how the sim racers may have been outdone by the pro crossovers in Q, and the first time we see a 35.4 as Edmondson late for the best time, and he will start on a pole position. So he bounces David Bodio out to the number 2 position. That'll drop Cam Peterson to 3rd, and Josh Fox into the number 4 spot, with Roland Johns through your top 5. He'll be joined by the 7 Matt Everhart in P6. Row 4, going to see the 3 of Hunter Stifler alongside the 22 of Brandon Brownfoot, your winner from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca, Keith Jeffrey, Connor Parise, the top 10.
That puts us at Bobby Rafferty, who finished on the podium there at Laguna Seca in the 11th spot. Josh Gaiman there in 12th spot, racing out of Pennsylvania. Moving into Chad Peterson there in the 13th spot. And in the 14th spot, it is going to be the 90 truck there of Tyson Miller. Looking at 15th, 16th, it's going to be Bradley Boyce, the number 500 in the 15th spot. 16th, it's going to be Aaron Bean out of Florida in the number 8 truck.
And Bean's going to be in the Championship Online Racing Team's truck today. Subbing in for David Amboys, who we saw in that truck last week. He called this a try not to finish in last challenge. Let's see what the 20 truck can do for the back of the pack. But the speed is up front for the 58 truck of Josh Edmondson. Green flag. Let's do it. 16 trucks and 18 laps for your pro sim racers.
Look at that. I mean, Edmondson, a great slingshot there to start things off. As you get there a glimpse of the number 4 of Josh Fox. Number 48, though, be on the lookout for Cam Peterson. Here's the guy that swept all 4 races in the World Cup, crowned himself the top guy in sim racing. And you want to talk about a target on your back, none other than Peterson there in the number 48. He's got one.
And the key has been throughout to start up front and get in front of the chaos. There is going to be a lot less contact in these trucks than you have seen in the other ones, and that's just because these sim racers kind of know where that boundary is. Josh Fox got up and nearly on the K-rail that time, so the number 12 truck pushed out to the outside, and Roland John's going to come up on the bottom. This is going to be a side-by-side battle for 4th, but it looks like Fox stays in front for the moment. And I mean, last week, Jim, we were shocked by how much cleaner these guys were compared to the other categories of drivers at Laguna Seca. Of course, today a very different challenge, though, where I think some of that side-to-side door banging a little bit inevitable.
Yeah, you know, and I think that's a big difference. You take a Pro 2 and you run it on a road course. I mean, you've got to hit your marks, and we're talking inches here. And I hate to say on a short course track you can be a little bit sloppy, but line's a bit more exaggerated. The race line gets a little bit bigger. You can lose a half a second here and make it up in the next corner. You know, road racing is a complete different discipline. And taking Pro 2s and running them at Laguna Seca, it was really out of the box for a lot of these drivers. Now they feel a little bit more back home, and they're able to drive kind of a little more exuberant, backing into the corners like they're used to.
And so far, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, exactly in the running order in which they started, but it's not for lack of trying. As you can see, the Canadian Peterson, the last time we were here, is he's going to hike it up on the 2 tires, trying to get on the inside of the 15 to Dave Bodio in this fight for 2nd and 3rd. Jim, it was the 48 truck by a mile and a half ahead of everybody else. I mean, Cam Peterson was so good in that Pro 2, Pro 4 split, both here at Wild Horse Pass and at Wild West Motorsports Park. And today he's got that same speed, but it is not quite as easy for him as Dave Bodio, and way out now, 1.6 seconds ahead for the race leader Josh Edmondson, proven to be good and valiant foes for him.
Well, and I know when you're the top dog, as such as Cam Peterson, he went and put on a clinic at the World Cup, and for the last month, he's been looking at his lines, been watching what he's been doing, trying to get in practice sessions with him, because they're doing their homework and they're studying what Cam Peterson, does. And, you hate to say you're a victim of your own success, but right now, he's got the eyes of the sim racing world on him because they want to know his secrets.
And those drivers still using that little bit of a cushion up against the K-rail at a turn at number 1 there to their advantage. Watching Stifler in this battle, 10th and 11th. That's Bobby Rafferty behind him. The 7 truck under fire by the 17 of Joshua Gaiman. So a handful of drivers all over the place here. A little bit of a wide quarter, though, for Rafferty. Inside is wide open. Here comes Gaiman. He just can't get it to stick through the whoop section. I think one of the most difficult spots on track as they finish lap number 6. Campiello going to be next time by the finish straight.
Well, you talked about that whoop section. I mean, how many accidents have we seen in that whoop section today? I mean, in the crossover division, we saw 2 rollovers there, and these trucks definitely can get out of shape. You don't hit it straight on. You come in a little bit sideways and really can upset the attitude of the trucks and cause some problems.
And there is that competition caution. You might be thinking, hey, the trucks that we were watching were like 2 turns into the lap. Yeah, but that's because Josh Edmondson up front had already put lap number 7 in the back pocket. So it will slow things down. The pace truck's getting after it. I don't know if we got a shot of it, but the pace truck was going over some of the jumps there on the back straightaway. I'm not sure if we assigned an honorary pace truck driver for this one, but whoever that is, they're having a good old time. And we will slow things down. Not a lot of huge movers, not a lot of incidents either, with the exception of Aaron Bean, who was involved in an incident and fell 2 laps down, Jim. All other 15 trucks are on the lead lap still in this thing.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of the drivers, you know with a competition caution, they know it's coming. You know, they know things are going to be bunched back up, and a lot of them will conserve the trucks. They'll sit back a little bit. They'll wait for the race to come to them, you know, and it's, you know, they know it's not where you finish at the end of the first, you know, half of the race. It's where you finish at the end of the second half of the race. So I'm expecting a lot of drivers to come at this green flag really firing on all cylinders, and I think we're going to see some action here in the first lap.
And maybe use that first little bit there as an opportunity to size one another up and, you know, just kind of see who was going to be a pretender and who was going to be an actual challenger in all of this one. And I do believe now we'll have the opportunity to talk with one of your drivers. And when we talk about it, hasn't been much of a rough night for a lot of these guys, but Tiffany Bradley Boyce in the 500 truck way back in P15. Let's see what he's thinking.
Hey, Bradley, how are you doing? Walk us through the first half of the race. How are you seeing things from your view?
Pretty chaotic back here. Not a lot of room to pass. Really dusty and a lot of damage. So it's been a wild ride back here in this truck.
With everything happening right now, how are track conditions going through for the first half?
Started out pretty good. Starting to slick off in the final sweeper here in turn 1 as well. I expect it to get a lot worse with this many trucks on the track.
Well, I'll let you go back green racing. Best of luck.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, that's what I call a trooper, because he finished the interview as the green flag was coming out and, of course, going to try to pick up some spots back into P15, whereas out in front, Josh Edmondson took us back to it, this time high. Going to be 8 laps to go from Wild Horse. So a quickie yellow, 1 less lap of pacing there than what we were used to. Big thanks to Bradley for chatting in with us. And P2 here still, I think, the best battle. David Bodio is all over the place. Peterson gives him a bump. Here comes the 48 truck in a battle for second.
Well, let's not count out Edmondson there. You know, we haven't talked a lot about him up in front, but he finished on the podium there at the World Cup. I mean, Edmondson, I believe, was 3rd overall. You know, put together 4 really strong finishes there in the World Cup about a month ago. So I think Cam Peterson there in the number 48, he knows that Edmondson, you know, is no slouch, and he wants to make a move on him sooner rather than later. He definitely doesn't want that gap to get stretched out.
Connor Parise, meanwhile, a little bit further back, trying to move up the running order in position number 10, but unable to do so, as this is this group right here, kind of mid-pack, showing 8th, showing 9th. Who knows where he'll end up at all of this, as they're going to be 3 wide over the hill, the tight right-hander before the whoop section. 11 to Parise on the bottom. It was Keith Jeffrey in the middle. The 07 to Matt Everhart on the outside, almost up and over. As I think that thing was on 1 tire there for a second or 2, but the outside line will allow him to carry the speed through. And he's not going to go over. He'll actually stay ahead of this battle for the moment. There's a slide job now. Jeffrey, a little bit of dirt track action to get up at top there with Everhart.
It looks like Everhart moving all over, trying to find a way. It looks like Connor Parise, Everhart with the whip there, motocross style over it. You got to give Everhart a lot of credit. Well, as Connor Parise kind of goes up and over, looks like he may have help. Now he's back on his wheels. How he managed that, I think he was a little bit of pinball action there.
He got hit on the door by the 17 truck. That was Joshua Gaiman, and he would have rolled over if not for the 07 of Everhart, who we were just talking about, who basically stabilized that 111 on the sidewalls. He fell back onto the racetrack on all 4s, and he will continue on. So the story up front between the likes of Edmondson, Peterson, Devodio, a very different story than this group back here, Jim. We're seeing that chaos that Bradley Boyce was telling Tiffany about.
Yeah, and and as we talked about earlier, this is that battle for the transfer spot. Only 8 of these drivers are going in. So, the battle for 8th is just going to be as hot and heated as it is for the lead because, right now I believe Everhart in that 8th spot is on the bubble. He definitely wants to make his way in. And, he's got everybody behind him. He's got a good half the field that are hunting him for that one single spot.
And that's all that's available, of course, to try to get in, or to guarantee, I should say, that you're going to get into that main event. Is Hunter Stifler is on 2 wheels. That was him on the far end shot there. The 3 truck was up and into the outside barrier. He's back on the all 4. He'll be okay as the battle for the transfer position continues. This time by 3 laps to go for your pro sim racers. Brandon Proudfoot on the bubble in P7. It is Everhart there for 8th position, and you're on board with Gaiman. All he needs, 1 more spot to lock into the show.
Look at him diving in down below to that Polaris Razor truck. Everhart there, not able to make it stick. He lost a lot of momentum, so they're going to go into this interior spot and get shot into that whoop section. Looks like he took a little bit different line, trying to get some momentum. I don't know if he's going to have it, as Everhart kind of sends it up on 2 wheels there as they go through this big sweeping corner.
And it's a good inside positioning for Gaiman. This is a tale of 2 different races, as the 17, though, is all kinds of out of shape. And just when I thought he was in a spot to get ahead of Everhart, he may have thrown it away there at 2 laps to go. But Matt Everhart started this in 6th. Oh, it's going to be a big shunt up and over. And Joshua Gaiman moves him out of the way for P8, just like that Everhart is done.
Yeah. And I don't know what happened, but Everhart there was just dead in the water. I mean, I don't know. He just was completely stopped. And I don't think Gaiman had anywhere to go as we kind of get a look here. Yeah, he just lost all kinds of momentum, kind of got sideways in there. And I don't know. You got to give shout out to Everhart, though. A lot of people don't realize he works for Jim Beaver Esports. He's designed about half the liveries in this field. Now, this guy puts in a ton of work, and, he's kind of dropped the graphic design to go out and have some fun these past 2 weekends. And, I just have to give a big shout out to Matt Everhart for everything he does for the team and for sim racing in general. I know he's worked with liveries on, on the NASCAR side as well. So big shout out to him as Edmondson takes the victory.
Checkered flag for the 58 machine, pole to checkered. He gets the job done. Cam Peterson closed at the end, but was unable to get up on him in his General Tire machine, so he is 2nd. Dave Bodio 3rd. Josh Fox in 4th. Roland Johns, Keith Jeffrey, Brandon Proudfoot, and with a little bit of flair, Joshua Gaiman, your top 8 finishers, locking in to that main event as we take a look at your full race results. Also, just now hearing word as well, Race Control is going to take a second look at the contact between Matt Everhart and Joshua Gaiman. And Jim, you had mentioned that it seemed like the 07 may have just stalled out there. I don't know if he pulled the wrong gear or what, but they're going to review that one to see if they feel like it was avoidable contact on behalf of the 17.
Yeah, that's why we're going to let I guess the professionals that, they're going to analyze that and see what happened. But, I don't know. It just looked like, he may have let up a little bit. But, on a second look, it looked like there was a ton of contact there with Gaiman as well. So, I don't know. Rubbin is racing, but, at some point, you got to draw a line. So we're going to let the bosses make that decision. But, great race. And you got to give a lot of credit to Edmondson. Kept his nose clean out front. And, anytime you can hold off a hard charger like Cam Peterson, you had a...
We unofficially now know your top 8 transfers into the feature. All that's left is to settle out the promoters' picks and as well go racing for the main event. We'll step aside right now. When we come back, we'll talk with your podium finishers and we will go main event racing one final time. You're watching the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown from Wild Horse Pass.
There's a place where fire and flavor are celebrated, where grilling traditions and new techniques are perfected, where grilling the perfect meal in your own backyard is a satisfying reward at the end of the day. Here in Big Green Egg Country, you can grill it, roast it, smoke it, or bake it with the most versatile grill you'll ever own. Easy to light, simple to use, lifetime warranty. The ultimate cooking experience. Shop online for home delivery at BigGreenEgg.com.
Take your driving to the next level at Dirtfish. Gain confidence behind the wheel of an all-wheel drive Subaru STI or rear-wheel drive BRZ. Get sideways with skills on gravel, mud, and tarmac. Dirtfish offers programs for every driver. Visit dirtfish.com for details.
Born for competition. Perfected on the racetrack. For whatever your road looks like, with General Tire, anywhere is possible.
Conditions off the pavement are always changing, so why settle for a light bar that just turns on and off? The Rigid Adapt is a revolutionary new light bar that will automatically select from 8 beam patterns that range from a widespread 90-degree flood to a 15-degree spot based on your vehicle's speed. Try that with your knockoff light bar. A dash-mounted controller allows the user to toggle between adaptive mode, beam patterns, and RGBW accent lighting. With Adapt, it's easier than ever to own the night.
There's nothing wrong with looking good. But when riding is your passion, it's performance that matters. Like having the off-road's most advanced suspension. It monitors input from driver and machine 200 times every second and automatically adjusts each shock to flatten corners, soak up the bumps, and cushion every landing. Confidence and control for those who live the ride. Polaris, think outside.
It may look calm now, but that is going to be ready to get underway here in just a moment as we wait for the feature race tonight from Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park in Chandler, Arizona. Race Spot TV's coverage of the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown continuing and closing tonight with this race from Chandler, Arizona in the Pro 4 trucks. We have seen the 3 different heat races come to go as we split up our crossovers, our pro off-road racers, and the sim racing pros amongst 3 different heats. And as we build the grid for your feature race, we welcome you back into the broadcast booth. Evan Pasoko, Jim Beaver, Tiffany Stone, and Jim, those drivers really showed us why they were the sim racing pros, but I want to go back to the point that you made right at the very start of that one, that they are going to have to be behind those pro off-road drivers, and the gap between those 2 categories, I think today, the tightest we've seen it all Triple Crown.
Yeah, and I think that's in the past month we've seen a lot. I mean, we ran trucks here, a month ago, and and what we've seen out of the off-road drivers as this Triple Crown has progressed is, I think they've gone in and done their homework, and we're starting to see, a lot of the pro off-road guys can run with the pro sim guys, and I think future Triple Crowns we may have to change the format a little bit, but it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. But I think this might be the first time in the Triple Crown we actually see a winner that isn't a pro sim racer, which I think would be an interesting culmination to this event.
And we're going to find out as that 18-lap feature race is up next, but our podium is standing by downstairs with Tiffany Stone. And Tiff, you've got our race winner from that one, Josh Edmondson.
Josh, a big congratulations to you. When we were here a few weeks ago, you finished third in round 1 in a Pro 4 here in Chandler, Arizona, taking the top spot today. Was there anything that you learned from round 1 that you implemented into round 3?
Yeah, I definitely got a little quicker and got a little better at the qualifying time, which was huge. That definitely helped to get out front early.
Exactly. And talking about your best lap from this particular race, 35.779, pretty much clean. You held off Cam Peterson, which is a feat in itself. Talk about the drive style, especially driving against somebody, knowing that Cam is right behind you.
Yeah, definitely something really hard to do to hold him off. You got to cover the inside. That was the biggest thing I was trying to do, which was getting harder and harder every lap with that blue groove on the bottom and the front end pushing. So I had the one lap where I grabbed a little too much handbrake and kind of piled everybody up there. But yeah, it was overall a really good race for me. I'm stoked.
Talking about the blue groove and track conditions, knowing that the track probably would have ended up that way, do you put a game plan before you head out there, or you just kind of take each turn, each sweep as it comes?
Definitely had a game plan. I watched those first 2 heat races and seen the blue groove on the broadcast there, so I adjusted my brake bias. So I knew it was coming for sure. I was trying to prepare for it.
Well, you've done it here, taking the top spot. One last thing, heading into the main event tonight. You don't have to give away anything, but do you have any special tricks, any tips, or anything that you're going to be doing right now to make sure that you can get into that top spot again?
I guess just adjust that brake bias because it's going to get blue groove bad and try and stay out of the carnage. If I can get around it, that'll definitely help, but it's going to be tough starting in the back.
Well, you've done it here. Nice job. Best of luck in the main event.
Thank you.
And heading over to our second place finisher, Cameron Peterson. Cameron, you swept all 4 races in round 1, including driving the Pro 2 and Pro 4 here. Walk us through the day today. Cam, can you hear me? Seems like we're having a little bit of difficulties with Cam Peterson. So we are going to talk to our third place finisher, Dave Bodio. Dave, obviously you've made your way into the third place finishing. Slick track conditions with blue groove throughout. Walk us through what your game plan was at the beginning of the race.
Yeah, at the beginning of the race, I just really wanted to keep the truck clean, try and hold on to my position. And then after that restart there, I think Josh might have missed a gear or something and stacked the field up, and I got some damage out of that and was just holding on at the end.
Well, it seems like everybody's drive style was just a little bit different. You had the best lap, 35.975. Talk us about what you're doing to pick the quickest line out there.
Yeah, just really trying to minimize wheel spin and keeping the angle of the truck at the right place and trying not to spin the tires.
Well, you've done it here. Moving into the main event, obviously a lot of great drivers. There's going to be options and opportunities for 3 wide, 4 wide. What are you going to be able to do? Obviously want to be out in front of that, but if you do get into some of that carnage, what is the game plan?
I think it's going to be a lot of navigating and really just being in the right place at the right time, trying to pick off spots, but not do anything too dangerous there in the beginning, and then at the end, just go.
And obviously we have a bunch of crossover pro drivers and sim pro drivers as well. Do you think anybody in particular might give you a little bit of a hiccup or might give you a little bit of trouble?
I think a bunch of the guys starting up towards the front, the crossover guys, I think they're going to be in a really good place. Just track position here is going to be huge.
Awesome. Well, best of luck for you in this main event. Back up to you guys.
A big thanks to some of those top finishers for chatting with us post-race. In this one, we will still see if we can chat with Cam Peterson in a moment. But, of course, the beauty of sim racing, Jim, is dealing with technology. And we all know that it always doesn't work correctly. So we're going to try to get on the radio with Cam in just a bit. He's certainly going to be one of the drivers to watch for. But I wanted to go to the point that Tiffany was going to talk to him about, the fact that, he was kind of very, very dominant last time we were here in the Pro 2s and the Pro 4s, and he actually seemed human in that one, with Josh Edmondson being the driver who paced the field.
You know, one thing to think, to look at in regards to Cam Peterson is he was basically Superman at the World Cup. But everybody has a great day, a phenomenal day. I mean, you hear about it at drivers at Daytona 500, Indy 500. I mean, Cam Peterson had that day at the World Cup. That's not to say that he's that much better than everybody else, but on that day he was. But I think a lot of the drivers, they are good. I mean, and they do bring something to the table. And I think as we saw at Laguna Seca, Cam ran up front, but he had some struggles. We're seeing that here today as, Cam is quick, but there's guys equally as quick. And I think we're going to see how good Cam Peterson actually is here in this main event. I mean, he's going to start back with a sim racer. He's going to have to come through all that traffic of not only the off-road drivers, but the crossover drivers as well. He's going to have to keep his nose clean, but he's got to be quick and efficient at the same time. I mean, this is going to be interesting to see what kind of show Cam Peterson can put on.
And they have to jump right back into the trucks. When you talk about those pro crossover drivers who were on track about an hour and a half ago or so, about an hour and 15 minutes actually, when they were on track. They've been sitting around. And the big thing that I heard as well, talking about some of those drivers, Tiffany, I'll go back to you on this, is the fact that they actually mentioned that they were watching the broadcasts and noticing, kind of taking note of how the track was changing. So maybe an advantage for those drivers who went earlier, kind of using these last two heats as a film session to study up.
Exactly. And when you're talking about that and watching track conditions and seeing how they change, obviously everybody knows each lap they're going to change. Each turn they're going to change. And every time a certain truck goes over it, that's going to change as well. We were able to talk to some of the drivers last week that said they even had some spotters out there calling and telling what the other drivers were doing. So it's going to be anybody's game for this main event. Track conditions are going to be a big play into this. So is it going to be a tire setup? Obviously, with everything going to be the same, it's all about the drive style.
Yeah, and as we get set for this feature race, Jim, as I see a couple of trucks barrel rolling, they are all on track right now for that 10-minute open qualifying session. The rules in the race all remains the same. 18 laps in length, a competition caution at the end of lap number 7. Of course, the only variable in this is it is given the biggest field we have seen so far tonight, and by a wide margin. Currently 25 trucks getting set to go on track. So, of course, there's the factor, but the fastest trucks, more or less, going to be at the back. We saw how this was at Laguna Seca. I can only imagine how wild it'll be here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really wild. Laguna Seca, it played out perfectly. I mean, you look at our top 5, and we had a great mix of crossover drivers, pro off-road drivers, sim racers. It ended up playing out to perfection there the last lap, and we had a great battle. Here it's a little bit different. This track is quite a bit shorter than Laguna Seca, but we're still cramming the same amount of drivers on there. It's going to be a lot more chaotic. Corners are a lot tighter. I think we're going to see guys, like I said earlier, get the elbows out a little bit. I think we're going to see some bumping and banging. Might get a little rough, and I think it's who can navigate the chaos to the best of their ability is who we're going to see make their way to the front, especially the second half of this race after the competition caution.
Yeah, for comparison's sake, when we were at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca last week, that was a 2.238-mile paved road course with 11 turns. Here tonight at the Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park off-road course, it is 0.60 miles in length, and it is only 5 turns. And, there are grooves that can give these drivers play with, but we were in a corkscrew. We had trucks flip it under overpass bridges at Laguna Seca. And I think that tonight as well going to be a totally different litmus test. And one thing that we kind of questioned in these early ones, Tiffany, was that, maybe they were using those first 7 laps up to the Campiello to feel things out and then maybe go after it after that. But honestly, with 25 trucks, if, the grid is already set. So what they're in right now is just the warm-up session. If I'm starting P20, I'm probably a top 5 truck in speed, but I have to get around 15 trucks to just get there. So I don't think they can afford to sit and ride around. I think they have to go at it right away.
You're exactly right. And usually the first half, they look through everything, they feel everything out, and then that's where we see the second half. They just pretty much shoot out of a cannon. But with the limited time that they have right here, you have to capitalize on people's mistakes. You have to be able to do those certain things. And when you get to the comp yellow, if you are a little bit behind, that also gives you an advantage to restack, get everything grouped back together. But you are absolutely right. Every lap is going to be crucial in this main event.
And just looking at the top times in practice right now, the likes of Luke Canup, Connor Berry, and Zachary Drapkin 1, 2, and 3 as Greg Biffle casually goes for a flip. Dave Higgins is up and over at the back end of the racetrack as well. And of course, with more trucks, another point of conversation, Jim, has been how the track has changed. That going to be accelerated a little bit more as well with more trucks on track. So the track at lap 1, obviously, going to race very different than it will at lap 18.
Yeah, it's definitely with 25 trucks, on this short track doing that many laps. This thing is going to look more like the mid 400 rather than short course by the end of this thing. So I'm kind of excited to see the way this goes into play here. Obviously, these trucks, the way you drive these corners, the way you drive these straights, and the lines you take are going to be vastly different from the start all the way to the finish. And it's going to be the driver who can adapt the best to the conditions of the track that we're going to see, make their way to the front, for this race.
And as well, we talked about the top 8, at least in the pro off-road driver category and in the sim racer category, in a position where they were locked in, but as well we have those provisionals that were added. And we tried a little bit earlier to talk with Cam Peterson, who was sandwiched on the middle of that podium finish for the sim racers. Tiffany, he's ready to rock and roll for the main event. Let's see if you can chat with him.
Awesome. Big congratulations before Cam taking the second place spot. You swept all 4 rounds for round 1. Obviously, you've been watching lines. You're getting faster and faster. What's the game plan for the main event?
I'd say the game plan for the main event is to stay clear of wrecks, avoid all trouble possible if I can. There's going to be a big factor in terms of lady luck. But yeah, just stay clear of trouble. Hopefully that leads me to the front. Hoping for a top 5 at least. If I get a top 5, I'd be pretty surprised.
That's awesome. Top 5 right there. Obviously with track conditions, looking at them right now, one word, how do you feel the track is going to be?
Mayhem.
Mayhem. Well, a big congratulations on taking that second place before, and a big good luck to you in this main event.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Back up to you guys.
Well, it took a while, but we did get Cam Peterson on the radio with us. Appreciate him working through that and giving us some insights, more so geared towards what he is going to see when we go feature race racing. Try to say that about 5 times fast here for Wild Horse Pass. So with about 20 seconds or so left on the warm-up session clock, let's put everybody on the spot. Let's go through the booth, and I'll be nice, and Jim, I'll make you go first on this. If you had to make a prediction for the win in the feature, who are you looking at?
I'm going to go completely different than I think everybody else. I'm going to say Connor Berry here. Connor, not only did he win the off-road, he's going to have a great starting position here for this main event. He's only going to have 8 trucks to have to work through, in regards to, the crossover drivers. And what he put together, I think, in the heat race impressed me a lot. I'm going to go with Connor Berry.
You got a pick down there, Tiff?
I do. I was going to go with Brandon Proudfoot. Coming off of a win, winning obviously builds confidence going into this track. He's been here before. I think he has a great shot.
Well, that is who our resident experts thinks who is going to get the win. Let's see how it plays out. Take a look at our starting grid. Yes, I'm comping out and not going for a pick because we're out of time. Let's take a look at your starting grid. And again, courtesy of all the inverts, it'll be Tyler Menedga on the pole position for this one, alongside the 75 of David Higgins. Row 2, Greg Biffle and Ron Capps. Talk about star power. In 3rd and 4th, with Travis Pecoy and Joshua Abbey. On row 3, Connor Martell, 7th. Anthony Eigenhauer, 8th, with the 50 with William Booth and Corbin Leverton, the top 10.
Yeah, looking at 11-12, we've got Zachary Drapkin in the 11th spot and Darren Hardesty there in the 12th spot. Moving on to the 13th, it's going to be Trenton Briley. And then in the 14th spot, it's going to be Ethan Ebert. 15th is going to be Luke Knupp and Connor Berry, your winner in the 16th spot in the off-road division. It's going to be Joshua Gaiman in 17th and Brandon Proudfoot there in the 18th spot. 19th is going to be Keith Jeffrey, and Roland John's going to round out your top 20.
And we'll continue on through Josh Fox, David Bodio, and then all the big names back here. Jim Peterson, Edmondson, Weller, and Everhart. Your two provisionals, 25th and 26th. It is looked at the bottom at your starting grid. I would say look for Josh Fox. Maybe that'll be my pick back in P21. Let's go racing, though, from a Wild Horse Pass. It's the feature, the final round of the Triple Crown. We're off and away. Medinga already under fire. It's Higgins to an early race lead.
Whoa, Biffle in the 16, almost a 360 there. He saves it. You got to give Greg Biffle a ton of credit as drivers. That's Lieberton doing his best to dodge Greg Biffle there. We got some carnage. Who is that? Oh, and that is Connor Berry in the 528. That was my pick to win. He's going to have to battle all the way from the back. Look at that, the Rally Hall of Famer David Higgins out front. We got Medinga there in the 23 in the second spot.
That's a couple of apocalyptic corners with all these trucks on track. Those sim racers, the gloves are off from how nice and clean they were in their heat. Oh, and it's a big shunt into the fence for the 57 truck of Ethan Ebert. He'll have to get towed out of the catch fencing. That's a one-way ticket to the pit lane. His race, for all intents and purposes, done just like that. And it may be for a moment a deep breath. No, another spinner. Connor Berry on his lid for a second time.
No, that was Josh Fox there, the number 12 up and over. They find their way back to the pit lane there as we get a replay here. I can't even tell what's going on, Evan. We just got trucks everywhere.
And it looks like he drove over the left rear of that truck in front of him. He was on his lid. Further behind is where Connor Berry was flipping for a second time. Jim, you know it's a wild start to the race when you see a truck flipping and you have to specify which one. As up at the front of the field, your pole sitter, Tyler Medinga, back around the 75 of Higgins for 1-2. Travis Pecoy was third, but he had a real bad final corner, so you can bump Roland Johns up to third and the 51 truck of Booth into fourth.
Yeah, Roland Johns, you know, he's that fast and wicked quick, and I think he started there, towards the back. He's having a great run there. As we see him continue to pick his way through some of the field, as we get a glimpse there, Ron Capps, who's put together a pretty solid run as well. Looks like he's got a few battle scars there, but he's keeping it on all fours, doing what he has to do to put in a clean run here.
Well, both mine and your picks, if I am, taking credit for Josh Fox there, who I said was one to watch out for, have had a really rough start to this one. In fact, Tiffany's pick and Brandon Proudfoot a lap down in 21st, so I think that is about the commentator's curse to the max, because those are all real fast drivers, but they're not in a good spot. There's a good bit of contact there. The 99 of Darren Hardesty got moved up and out of the way. Caps, the 77 of Knupp as well, the 58 of Josh Edmondson, all getting around him. This is a very important battle because either the truck's fighting from behind, and that was an issue with Johns. Roland Johns with engine damage. He and Dave Higgins, they were second and third. What happened here? Watch on the replay. Johns across the nose, and they are both right here going to end up in a K-rail. Wow.
Well, it looked like, Johns had that bumper-to-bumper contact with Higgins, maybe a little retaliation out of David Higgins there on Johns, and you're saying, hey, what's fair is fair, but it ended up taking them both out. Tough break for both those guys. Higgins had a great run going, as well as Johns.
They were P2 and 3 in a good spot. Now, all of a sudden, Travis Pecoy, the 3 that you were looking up at on board with the 51 machine, takes over second.
Yeah, they're great run, and this is all about the clean air like we talked about. These drivers get out front there with Pecoy, and, you just let all the bad stuff happen behind you. They're doing what they've got to do, and doing a great job at it. As we get a shot there, that is the number 58, diving down low, trying to make something happen. Oh, look at that whip style, just, whoa, way outside.
He was a little bit out of shape in the battle, and there is your competition caution. So what a wild opening 7 laps of this feature race. Who would have thought that from the top of it all, Tyler Menenga is staying in position 1, but then it is your big movers. +3 for Travis Picoy, who will hit the reset button in second. The number 50, William Booth, will hit the reset button from third. He is +6. Luke Knupp, though, 15th on the grid. He goes +11 to 4th. And somebody by the name of Cam Peterson, who may know a thing or two about being fast in these trucks here at Wild Horse. We just chatted with him before the green started at 23rd position. Jim +18 spots. And in P5, I think he's a threat from there.
Oh, I think Cam Peterson, be watching him, the second half of this race. He's moved his way through a lot of drivers here, a battle to where he's at. We all know how quick he is. But, that truck in 4th, Luke Knupp, I think he's definitely one to watch. And Picoy, what can we say? This guy won there at Laguna Seca, or not won, but he found himself on the podium. He was the fastest crossover driver. I think Picoy, he's going to have a really good shot here the second half of this race as well. And Ron Capps, he's keeping his nose clean. I think this may have a little something.
But let's see when this one goes back. Green lights on top of the base truck stay on for the moment, so it will not be this time by, and it should be about what the average has been with about 8 laps to go. Let's see as well, just kind of looking through the field at some other notable drivers. Josh Edmondson up to 8th position. That's a +16. Dave Bodio +12. Corey Weller as well. We talk about the provisionals, Jim, and obviously good picks. Weller and Everhart started 25th, 26th respectively, and they're up to 13th and 15th. They've been putting in work.
Yeah, and got to give them a lot of credit, starting all the way at the back as well. And, and I think, you want to be quick. You want to pick up as many positions as possible, like Cam Peterson has done and Luke Knupp. But, at the same time, you've also got to be very defensive, and you've got to avoid the pitfalls, that, can happen the first half of this race. And Corey Weller, maybe being a little bit conservative, but I got to tell you, she's in it, and a lot of drivers aren't. So be watching for her the second half of this race as well. I think she's going to have her work cut out for her, but, I don't think a top 5 is out of the realm of possibility.
And there's a lot of drivers as well who are not those big movers. 18th position on back off of the lead lap. So for Drapkin, Eigenhauer, Fox, Martell, Hardesty, Johns, Higgins, Proudfoot, and Ebert, they are all in effect out of the battle for the race win in this one, and are kind of just going to run these final few laps for the fun of it. Let's see if the lights go out this time by on the pace truck as we put lap number 10 in the books, and it is. So we will restart next time by with a 7-lap dash to the finish. Can Tyler Menenga hold on for a first win? Can he shock the field here? Will it be Travis Picoy, or will it be the likes of Knupp and Peterson, who came through traffic to get a top 10 or top 5 spot actually for the restart? Are they going to be close enough to make it happen?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens here when we go back to green. But, I got to tell you, we saw Menenga, yard sail it basically in his heat race. But we have seen a completely different Tyler Menenga here in, this main event. He's cool, calm, collected. He's been out front. He's avoided the pitfalls. He got around David Higgins early, and, he hasn't looked back since then. So pace truck is off, means we're about ready to go green flag racing.
Final 7 laps at the Triple Crown right here, right now from Wild Horse Pass. Green flag flies. We're back at it. Menenga going to lead to turn 1. Here's a big dart to the inside early for Travis Picoy on the inside. Menenga clears off for the corner. Going to be a real slow left-hander over the jump. The inside's open again. Now it's Peterson looking for the top spot, and Picoy is on through.
Yeah, Picoy, great run there. Looks like look at that. Cam Peterson almost in the draft. There's Menenga all the way in the bottom. We got him 3 wide going into the whoop section. As they get a little squirrely there, Cam Peterson, look at that. Setting that truck up, pointing it off the last whoop, just crossed up to perfection. Getting a great run down here in front of the stands.
Decoy rough ride over there on the tabletop as he comes alongside Cam Peterson. The 48 machine really trying to work that inside line. He's missing some fenders on both the left front and the right front. Oh, and a big slide. That's Joshua Gaiman on his lid from behind. A huge accident behind the battle for the race lead. Menenga gives a shot to Decoy. Let's watch what happened at the 17. Oh, right there, Ron Capps, left rear, got into him hard. And Joshua Gaiman, who had some contact in his race earlier, drops back to 15th courtesy of that. As the battle for the race lead is on, Jim. Through all of that, it is the 51 truck in front.
Yeah, the 51 is out front. That is Booth. But to Cam Peterson, you know, side by side, we are going to have a battle on our hands here the next couple laps.
And Peterson's there now. If the top two get together, Decoy still third, funnied with Luke Cadup and Tyler Menenga in that trio for third on the back. But the battle for the race lead sees 4 laps to go. Let's ride on board with the 51 as Peterson gets in front of him.
You know, Cam Peterson, world record holder here with laps at Wild Horse Pass. You know, he's got that truck. We'll see how much is left of it, but he gets out front, gets that clean air. He is going to be bad fast. He's going to be tough to catch, as we already see, you know, the gap separating as we've got Travis Decoy out. Tough break for him, as looks like he went on for a ride there on the fence.
Yeah, onto the fence and into the fence as he had a rough ride over the tabletop. He just nicked a K-rail with his right rear tire. That drove him up and over into the fencing. And it did its job. It kept that truck on the racetrack. Unfortunately, he was tangled up and in that fencing. And Decoy, who is in a battle for third, his night ends just like that. Here's the battle behind your race leader now, Cam Peterson, trying to pull away. Going to take 2 laps to go this time by. Luke Cadup not wanting to let him run away with it. He's under fire, though, trying to get around the 51 of Booth. This battle for second and third.
Yep, battle for second and third, you know, and Booth and Cadup just going back and forth as we see our timing and scoring basically flip-flopping every single corner. You know, Cadup right now the top, you know, I guess off-road, out of the off-road division up there, taking that line there up against the fence. Looks like it just shaved just a hair of a second off. I know we were talking about it being the equivalent of a cut in rally racing earlier, but, you know, just, you know, everybody trying to find every inch they can here to try and catch Cam Peterson.
And at this point, I think it might take a mistake on behalf of the 48 truck. Lap times about 36 seconds every single time around. And Cam Peterson in front, white flag in the air. He's on the final lap.
Yeah, that number 48 General Tire truck, you know, final lap here. It's going to take a massive mistake by Cam Peterson. You know, he's hitting his marks right now. He knows he's got a little bit of a gap here, so, you know, he doesn't have to be hyper aggressive, but definitely can't make a mistake.
Thought that maybe tonight he was not going to be untouchable. 4th best of the sim racers in practice and a runner-up finish in his heat race. But he'll complete the drive from 23rd to the top step of the podium. Peterson, feature race winner in the Pro 4 trucks at Wild Horse Pass.
Wow, and you got to give credit to Luke Cadup. Great run by Cadup there, you know, to finish up there in the second spot. You know, he had to battle through, you know, all of the crossover drivers, and just a phenomenal effort there, you know, by Cadup.
A tough break for the likes of Tyler Menenga, who really surprised on this race, was top 5 all night. He flipped at 2 laps to go. Menenga only going to be credited with an 18th placed finish, and it is Cam Peterson still untouchable, undefeated in the trucks at Wild Horse Pass, and on the short courses wasn't able to get it done at Laguna Seca, but today he gets the job done from Wild Horse Pass. There's a look at your finishing results. Peterson, Cadup, and Booth, first, second, and third in this one. And of course, we talked about all the different prizes on the lines amongst your top finishers tonight. A lot of those drivers, Jim, going to be walking away real happy.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of drivers walking away real happy. I mean, obviously Cam Peterson, he's made a lot of money in the past month. We got to give him a lot of credit there. Luke Knupp going to take home some money as well. Peterson taking home another set of General Tires. Booth there in the third spot going to take home some money as well. And looking down the list here, we got Edmondson, Briley, Barry. Give Barry a lot of credit battling back to 6. Bodio, Leverton. In that Polaris Razor truck. Then we got Gaiman and Caps. And I believe, Caps, the top finishing crossover driver, he's not going to walk home with any money, but maybe something even better. He's going to walk home with a big green egg.
He is. That's going to be a big pickup for him as we take a look at the second slot of these drivers. And, you can see all the drivers 2 laps down. I mean, only the top 14 actually finished on the lead lap. So Martel, Menengo, Weller, Picoy. Jim, those are a lot of the drivers who we were talking about a lot in the first half of the race of having a good night.
Yeah, and you got to give David Higgins a little credit there in the number 75 truck. This is the first, I believe the first ever iRacing event he's done. Rally legend, Hall of Famer. His accomplishments are second to none in the rally space, and he's trying his hand at short, and he had a good run there up front, to start things off. So definitely a great to see David Higgins out here, and hopefully we see him back in future events.
Well, let's talk with your top finishers for the virtual Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park. And, well, the racing is simulated. Tiffany, the prizes are real. Cam Peterson once more on the top of the podium. You're with the driver, the 48 again.
A big, big, big congratulations to you, Cam Peterson. It's been a long time coming. We talked about how you swept all of them in round 1. Come back to Wild Horse. You're undefeated here. In one word, how are you feeling right now?
Overwhelmed.
Overwhelmed. Well, at the beginning of the race, you said it was going to be mayhem. You worked your way from the 23rd spot all the way to the top spot. What was the game plan really like, and how was it moving all the way up there, especially even before the comp yellow even hit?
For the first half of the race, I really tried to look for holes that were going to be open before they even opened. I tried to put my truck where it needed to be before it needed to be there, and try to make the cleanest lap I could. Don't damage the truck, even though it did finish the race without a left front fender, I don't think. So the first half of the race was extremely patient for me. Hopefully others made mistakes and I didn't. And then the second half of the race, I think I got up to 5th, after the comp yellow. And just really tried to hit my marks. Hopefully someone ahead of me made mistakes. I need to watch the replay to make an accurate comment, but wow, what a ride. Going from over 20th to 1st is something I really did not expect to happen.
Exactly. When we were talking, you said if I just qualify or I top in the top 5, you would be happy. With 4 laps to go and the quickest time of 36:164 for your lap, you pretty much just in those last 4 laps all the way took it to the top. When you were doing that, what was your drive style really like?
Not to get too pushy with the throttle. When this track gets worn out with the Pro 4 trucks, you really want to kind of roll it off the corner. And the people who have the most patience, they're the ones who get rewarded with fast laps. And thankfully that really showed today, and was able to come out on top.
Well, you done it here. Big congratulations. Can't wait to see what you do in the future with all of this. Nice job.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. And going to our second place finisher, number 77 of Luke Knupp. Luke, you had the best time, 36:297, not too far behind Cam Peterson. What was it like trying to keep up with Cam and trying to see when it was a good spot to try to pass him as well?
Oh, it was a crazy race. Everyone was getting mad at me for getting into him, but it was just a wreck fest in my opinion out there. But it was a great race, and at the end I was catching Cameron a lot, and if I had one more lap I would have made a move. But all in all, it's really awesome to come out and win or get second in my heat race as well, coming from the back.
Exactly. Moving all the way up. You started 15th and then pretty much moving your way through 3 wide, 4 wide. Walk us through that, especially with the track conditions and obviously how much blue groove is really out there.
Oh, yeah. The race started out with a bunch of blue groove, to be honest. And then with 24 or 5 people out there, it just gets so blue grooved. And it was so gnarly towards the end. You just had to drive it so deep. get on the brakes, and then drive off. And that's what I think Cameron was taking a little easy at the last couple laps, so that's why I was gaining on him. But like I said, I think if I had one more lap, I would have tried to make a pass on him.
Awesome. Throughout the 3 rounds here, walk us through, tell us how you really feel about everything and how you're feeling with everything with the Triple Crown.
I didn't do the first one, but the Laguna Seca with Pro 2s was by far probably my favorite. You had to drive it so hard, and it was so technical and so much fun. And then this is just my driving style. It's the Pro 4s on a wreck track. Coming from the back, I love it. And it was awesome. I'm glad Jim was hosting it and all the sponsors. Thank you, guys.
Awesome. Nice job, Luke.
Thank you. I want to thank Ultra Wheels, Rigid Industries, Diamondback Materials, Lethal Esports, Reliable Air Conditioning, and affordable sticker services.
Well, you've done it here. Best of luck in the future to you.
Thank you.
And finishing it off with our 3rd place finisher, William Booth. William, you've done such a great job. There was such a great battle for 2nd and 3rd between everything that was going on. Walk us through how you saw the race.
Yeah, it was crazy. I was just cars flying everywhere, and track got really slick there at the end. I was just hanging on for dear life, and I think I beat Cam once or twice in my life, and today wasn't going to be the day. So it was, got a good restart on that restart, and got up there, took the lead for a bit, and it was a lot of fun. But I think the start's pretty good.
No, starting off 9th and finishing off 3rd, like you said, there was a lot of carnage, a lot of mayhem, especially from the 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So much was happening. Talk us about what you really thought the drive style was and what your game plan was going through this to get you on the 3rd place box.
Yeah, with this fixed setup we had to use today, the car's just all over the place. It's double bouncing everywhere. So just surviving is really the name of the game. You know, sometimes the car's going to bounce right, sometimes it's going to bounce left, and you really don't know. So just trying to find that balance between going fast and keeping nice and smooth and trying to stay out of that blue groove. It's a lot different than I usually see on iRacing here. So it was definitely a cool race to be a part of.
Awesome. Nice job out here. Great watching you race. Thank you for being a part of it.
Yep. Thank you.
Awesome. Back up to you guys.
Well, there are your podium finishers from today's feature race. And, of course, they're walking away with an assortment of cash and prizes, courtesy of our friends over at General Tire. Jim, for those who may have missed that when we talked about it earlier, what are those top 3 walking away with?
Yeah, top 3 are walking away with not only $600 in cash, but winner there, Cam Peterson, going to walk home with a set of General Tires, and also the top finishing crossover driver. That is our good friend Ron Capps. He is actually going to walk home with a brand new Big Green Egg grill. So we've got possibly Ron Capps standing by, but I got to tell you that might be the pick of the litter there. I mean, we all need some new tires, but a Big Green Egg, especially with the summertime barbecues coming, that's gonna be pretty nice, I think.
Yeah, I was actually just talking with Ron after the race here, and he said that he's got a Big Green Egg, and he's a big fan, and he uses it so much that he's been needed another one, and tonight he accomplishes that. So we'll throw things back down to T-Stone, talking with the NHRA champion, who's walking away with that Big Green Egg package.
A big congratulations to you, Ron Capps. Obviously, we see you are an incredible champ in NHRA, but bringing yourself over here to sim racing, what have you really learned in the last 6 weeks?
Well, that race, I got to learn to say I'm sorry to a few guys. It was, I think everybody was kind of just hanging on. And it's a unique situation because Laguna Seca last week, I was just trying to race everybody clean. And today, it's hard to do. This is an incredibly hard, much harder than it looks. And, they had the caution halfway through, and my steering wheel is about the 10 o'clock position. I had so much damage from a pile up the first lap. I was just hanging on. So I was on the radio telling Cam and Josh and those guys, just come around me and I'll let you buy clean, and just trying to hang on to the best finish. So it's been fun. I mean, Josh has helped a bunch the last couple of days with Anthony and these guys I've jumped on, and I've taken it so serious to try to get better and better. And it's just, I had a blast racing these guys and girls today.
Obviously, Ron, we see you in funny cars pushing down 320 plus miles per hour. Is there any way we're ever going to either see you in a Pro 2 or a Pro 4?
My gosh, yeah, I was actually scheduled, a few years ago to go test one, and I was so looking forward to it, and it didn't happen. But this has always been one of my passions. I love watching anytime it's on TV, I'll flip it on, and I follow it on the internet all the time when we're racing and just checking on these guys to see how they're doing. But yeah, I'd love to. It'd be a blast. I'm sure. I'm not sure it'd be harder or easier than this. I can't say. A lot of these guys that do it for a living on here make it look so easy, and it kind of tells you about iRacing and how realistic it is. But I can't tell you how excited I am about the Big Green Egg. I've had a extra large Big Green Egg for about 7 years, and I've needed a new one, and I was about to buy one, and now it's perfect timing. So thank you guys for the new Big Green Egg, man. I can't wait.
Well, finishing that off, Ron, what is going to be the first thing you cook on that new Big Green Egg?
Well, Tiffany, I live out here on the west coast of California, so I grew up on the Central Coast, and there's nothing better than Santa Maria-style tri-tip. So I'm going to cook up a tri-tip as soon as I can. In fact, right now, this morning, I fired up my Big Green Egg, and it's been sizzling, waiting. So when you and I get done talking, I got a bunch of chicken and some pork that I got on there.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure watching you race these few rounds. Great job, Ron Capps. Go get your chicken from your Big Green Egg, and nice job.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jim Beaver.
Awesome. Back up to you guys.
I'm going to agree with our producer downstairs, Paul Smith. I'm hungry now, as he's going on about what he's going to be making on the grill a little bit later on. Is he gets to go and celebrate. I think that's about the best reward for a P10 I can think of. And I don't know if we're breaking any news here, Jim, but somebody please give Ron Capps a ride in one of these things. He's in.
Yeah, and I actually had the Razor Star Car program a few years ago, and we were bringing in celebrity drivers, and his good friend Antron Brown is a good friend of mine, and Antron came in and raced Star Car, and Capps was scheduled to race alongside of Antron Brown, and he ended up having a conflict with his schedule and things like that, and my other good friend Steve Torrance came in, and we had a blast, but I know ever since then Capps has been itching to get behind the wheel of an off-road car. And I didn't realize that, he was scheduled to test a short course truck. But I got to tell you, having Ron Capps and, that Napa Blue in short course, I got to tell you, I don't know one person that wouldn't want to see that.
And, of course, we got a little bit of a taste of that here on the sim. And, of course, not all of those pro crossover drivers competing here going to get an opportunity to drive one of these in the real world. That is the fun nature of all these events that we've been seeing on iRacing over the last couple of weeks, last basically 2 months or so, is seeing people try different vehicles. I mean, Ron Capps has been in NASCAR Cup cars, and Indy cars, and all of these drivers. We talk about the rallycross stuff, which ties in, I think, a little bit more closely to these trucks and some of that asphalt stuff. But it has been so fun. And, of course, specifically with this Triple Crown, Jim, it comes to an end tonight. A little bit bittersweet to end what has been a fun, 3 weeks of action for us here. And I know this is not the final time that you'll be involved in putting on events like this. And maybe already counting down the days to that TBD next time it happens. But it's been so much fun, and I think tonight we saw a great race to kind of cap it all off in fitting style, with Cam Peterson finishing it where we all started, and that was in Wild Horse Pass Victory Lane.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, it's been a phenomenal run here. I mean, these 3 events, I don't know what viewership was to this one. I know it's got to have been solid, but I gotta first off, I got to thank all of our amazing partners that have helped make this happen. And it's my name on this thing, but top to bottom, General Tire, Vision Wheel, Polaris Razor, Big Green Egg, Rigid Industries, GSP XTV Axles, Dirtfish Rally School, Cronus. I mean, everybody that's been involved. I mean, Chris Leone, Matt Everhart, Matt Kalish, I mean, yourself, Tiffany Stone, all the guys at Race Spot. I mean, this is a big undertaking. I think all the fans at home seeing it, watching it. I mean, my name is on it, but I got to tell you, it's been an army that has helped put this together. And we've had some amazing racers who have showed up each and every week to compete. And just my tip of the cap to everybody involved, not only on the track, but behind the scenes. You made this happen. And, I'm just stoked to hopefully have another one of these next year.
Well, it was certainly fun, and I'll go back down, Tiffany, with you one more time. Of course, happy to have had you joining us over the course of these 3 different broadcasts. And I know that we kind of talked a little bit more about it on those first few weeks, that, the sim racing element is something that I'm obviously used to, but was new for you and Jim. And I know that you guys had a ton of fun with it, and just wanted to get your closing thoughts on what has been a fun 3 weeks of racing.
No, it's been exciting. I've been able to see everything happen and being able to experience some of these tracks that I necessarily haven't been to. I've been to Laguna Seca, but never seen a Pro 2 drive on it, so that's pretty amazing to see it. And honestly, I think I kind of want to get my own, so you never know. Jim, you might have to get another host, because maybe I might want to race in the next one. Who knows what happens, but thank you so much for having me be a part of this. I appreciate it. It was great to do that. Evan, you are phenomenal at what you do. I just am thankful to be with a great crew.
Well, Jim, I'm warning you. You give anybody a sim rig, and Tiffany's going to go rogue on us, and she's going to be in the truck for next time out. I could see it happening. That's the great thing about the racing. I mean, I talked about how I went out there and did some laps earlier today, and I was about 2.5 seconds off the pace, but it's fun. And we encourage everybody, if it's these, short course trucks, if it's anything else on the service, NASCAR, IndyCar, road racing, who knows, you can go to iRacing.com and get involved today. And until next time, and whatever that may be, that is it for us here tonight from Chandler, Arizona. So on behalf of our entire team at RaceSpot TV, for all the sponsors making this happen, the folks at General Tire, Big Green Egg for jumping on board today, Matt Kalish at Race Control Booth, Jim shouted out a little bit earlier, Chris Leotti at iRacing for putting all of this together. For our producer downstairs, Paul Smith, and for your broadcast team tonight with Hugo Louise at RaceBot as well. For Tiffany Stone, Jim Beaver, and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to thank you for tuning in for these 3 weeks of action, and congratulations to Cameron Peterson, race winner of the finale of the Jim Beaver Esports eShortCourse Triple Crown. From Wild Horse Pass Motorsports Park, we say goodnight.